So why do we have that sort of disparity, distinguished senator? I mean, if we say we care, you know, about building a future, can we realistically justify this sort of discrepancy that we see in the spending for
governance? Yeah.
Yes.
You see, I am always in difficulty to discuss when people talk about. I'm knowing for the first time that the budget of National Assembly, because what I know as Deputy Senate Leader of the Senate is that it's 13 billion. So you hear so many figures bandied around. And then you begin to wonder. Is that
because you're looking at only the basic and you're not looking at all the add-ons?
It's not the issue of add-on or the basic. It's the entire budget that is signed by the president itself, which is a public document. Last time we had a professor of law who said every senator was collecting 36 billion. When they came, I said, no problem. We can argue about facts, but we cannot argue about figures. Take your calculator, times 36 times 109, and then times 12.
But you
will see that it's even over the budget that has been. So how are you paying the House of Reps?
Okay, but you know, part of the problem is the lack of transparency. No, if you were to make your salaries and everything you earn public, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Civil society demanded that the budget of the National Assembly must be made public. The leadership of the Senate said, we will live by that, and we made it public. I don't understand really. At times I don't get irritated, but I get really, what is happening? What is?
Let's go back to media, because I don't want us to digress. Okay, someone else wanting to speak? The gentleman in the, yes. Please tell us who you are, and then we'll come back to you, sir, in a minute.
My name is Tony Dara. I'm the founder of NN24. I think it's far more beyond ethics, because we haven't defined what media business is all about in this country. We have a country that still has a Ministry of Information instead of media culture and whatever it is. So the nomenclature is completely wrong to start with, let alone try to put together a system and architecture that makes things work. We have a country that sponsors CNN. Literally, corporate Nigeria pours out on CNN in advertisement at the detriment of local media. Now, here's a point to start from, because without all that economy retained in Nigeria, you can't have a vibrant media economy to start with in the first instance. That's my first contribution.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. The gentleman over here, and I think, you know, while he's getting ready, this issue of the way in which our locals deal with the Nigerian media, even beyond the issues of funding, even access. I mean, when I was at the BBC, and I'm sure he testifies to the same thing, exactly. We found it really easy to call up ministers and everybody, and they would talk to us. But the minute we started working with local media, it became impossible.
But you know why, Kadria? It's a credibility issue. I mean, it's a credibility issue. I mean, some of the local media here, I mean, have not yet demonstrated enough credibility for them to be believed. And then the audience also, I think that's where I think
when you say the audience, what do you mean?
Sorry?
When you say the audience, what do you mean? They want to talk to people abroad, but they don't want to talk to
the audience tend to believe the foreign media because of the credibility. That's what I mean. I mean, the local media, sometimes you find it, I mean, it's very hard to say, but this is the fact. I mean, you find a journalist going to do an interview, and after the interview, stopping by, I mean, for only God knows what he wants after that. But then that does not happen with the foreign media. I mean, this is the fact. We have to say it as it is.
Okay,
let me just land. In that case, what happens is next time when that same journalist goes back to get the interview, he's not granted the interview. That's the issue.
No, just to quickly add that that's not across board. You have journalists who do that. There are a lot of credible journalists in this country who want access to power, but they are denied. It's also a reflection of the kind of contempt.
For over 5 years.
Yeah, the kind of contempt our so-called rulers have for Nigerians. And it's not just that contempt, it's seen in governance, in the day-to-day governance, and it's also reflected in the way they treat journalists.
Let me bring a few more people in. Yes, sir.
My name is Ahmed Faisal. I'm a program coordinator at Reboot. We have an amplifying accountability for media portfolio.
Okay.
In thinking solutions for the media, having seen all the problems that panelists have mentioned, and also thinking how...
apparently they can't hear you. There's a problem with the mic, so I wonder if we can change it. Apologies for that. Okay, sir.
Thank you.
So you have to start from the beginning.
Okay, my name is Ahmed Rufaisa. I'm a program coordinator at Reboot. We have an amplifying accountability portfolio where we support media and build knowledge. And in thinking solutions for the Nigerian media, having said all the problems that we have enumerated, one of the things that I think is very vital is that ownership of media must move away from government people. If you look across board, recently we did a research into radio ownership in Nigeria, and a lot of the people who own those radio stations were actually political people. And so it becomes very difficult for the media to hold those people accountable. And secondly, media organizations must begin to think about business models in moving away from that ownership crisis, and also think about non-profit journalism.
And in your work, what are the sort of new business models that you have found that are effective in building and sustaining media businesses? Okay.
Some of the media organizations that we have looked at actually build businesses away from the journalism that they do, and those businesses are used to fund the journalism instead of having government people pay them. Recently, I was interacting with Mr. Dayo, and he was making a reference about a journalist who had traveled to Rivers to cover the elections and then being paid money during the elections by the same people he was supposed to cover. And so that there's this issue of ethics right there in the middle.
Mm. Thank you very much. Anybody else who wants to say a quick word before we go on break? Okay, we're going to break very quickly, so you have to be quick and fast. Yes, sir.
Political editor, Oak TV. Now, I heard the distinguished senator talk about credibility and how Nigerian journalists might report facts. Now, you're trying to get facts, and we are in a country where there is heavy influence in terms of press repression. But when Edmund Burke talked about the media as the fourth estate of the realm, he talked about independence. How can you be independent? You try to source out data is difficult. FOI Act, ministries everywhere, very, very difficult to ascertain. But you have to give your audience news. This pushes you to publish something that might tally with what's available. So I think the government can also help the media, because there are still credible people that push to the end, particularly my own media organization. Objectivity is our watchword. But when you press on and your audience are waiting, you have to do something. So I think the government can also help us in this regard.
Thank you very much. We're going to have to take a quick break. Please don't go away.